Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Banc Sabadell, for letting us use this space today. And I would like, first of all, to welcome our panelists. We have here Jordi Grau. Jordi Grau, he is Projects and Information Systems Director at Hospital de la Santa Creu i Sant Pau Foundation. Graduated in medicine and MBA at ESADE. After 10 years of consulting in healthcare management, he joined at Sant Pau in 2004 as project manager and responsible for the construction of the new hospital. In 2011, he joined the Sant Pau Hospital Foundation as Director of Projects and Information Manager. Thank you, Jordi, for coming today.
Thank you for the invite.
And we have also Luca Benza, Director of Technology Innovation, Transfer and Acceleration at IESE Business School. He served in the World Economic Forum, expert on technology transfer and deep science startups. For the last 7 years, he has worked primarily with early-stage startups and spin-outs based on deep science innovation. He helps technical founder teams to build multidisciplinary teams prepared for growth. He worked extensively with new healthcare, agri-food, and graphene technologies through AET Health, AET Food, and Graphene Flagship, respectively. MBA from IESE Business School and BA from Boston College. Thank you, Luca, for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And we'll be joining also remotely Carlos Parry Lafont. He was not able to come today, but he will remote after on video conferencing. He's head of government affairs at AstraZeneca Spain. He has a long experience in the public sector, having coordinated Barcelona's bid to host the EMA in the Ministry of Health, held various positions in the European Parliament, and most recently he has been responsible for public affairs at the European Pharmaceutical Employers Federation in Brussels. And thank you also, Carlos, for connecting. We'll see you later in the screen. And well, I would like to start with also an introduction on what is Barcelona Health Hub, to whom you don't know what it is. Barcelona Health Hub is a non-profit organization devoted to foster innovation in digital health from Barcelona to the world. We are in the Sant Pau's modernist venue here in Barcelona, and we have a clear objective. It's to promote Barcelona as one of the top innovation hubs in the world. And we have a strategy for that. We want to foster the technological transfer. We see a lot of innovation here today. We want to help these companies to reach the practice in medicine, to apply these technologies to the reality of healthcare. And that's something that is quite difficult to happen, and we will debate this afterwards. What are the challenges that we need to overcome? We also want to promote the digital health knowledge. We know that in healthcare there's a lack of IT knowledge in general. I mean, as a physician, you are not trained in IT, and this difficults how this technology will reach the practice of healthcare. Also, we want to help all the startups, and not only the startups, that ideas that are now in the heads of many people, and help them to deploy these ideas into successful startups and bring this again to the reality of healthcare. And finally, we want to have a global reach. We don't want this to happen only here. We know that we compete with all big cities in the world that want to have, everyone wants to have really successful startups in their ecosystem, and we are competing in this challenge, and we want to really overcome all these difficulties and have a global reach. So, well, yeah, you can see a video explaining all these main lines online in our webpage at barcelonahealthhub.com. I invite you to do it. But let's start the conversation. Let me go back to the first screen because this is not the last. Okay, we are here. And let's try to connect with Carlos. Let's hope that we can see it in the screen soon. But let me start maybe with a question to Luca. Do you see an acceleration in digital health? Carlos, welcome, Carlos. Hi.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for the question. I think without a doubt, this trend of digitalization is making its way quickly into the healthcare sector. We're seeing this manifest itself in many ways. I think there's both a push from startups, patients, and doctors and nurses who all see a real need in their day-to-day life and are trying to push it into the ecosystem. But there's also a pull from hospitals and insurers and public healthcare systems to make healthcare more affordable. One, I would say, relatively easy way to do this would be through digitalization. And we've seen this work in other sectors. We've seen this work in energy. We've seen this work in industry. And I think it's now working its way very aggressively into the healthcare sector, where despite perhaps economic woes over the last couple of years, we've seen real advances in digitalization in healthcare. So it's a growing trend, I think, worldwide, and very much so in Barcelona.
No, thank you, Carlos. I totally agree. I think, and we feel it in the hub. I mean, we see all these trends. And let me ask also to Carlos, do you think that COVID has brought any changes into that? Can you hear me?
Thank you, Lucia. It's really because I believe here and question. I think that COVID it's really been an accelerator of many changes, and COVID has been, despite the sad part of COVID and all people that they have been suffering with this illness, COVID has been an accelerator of digitalization for many things. For sure now, 1 year ago, for sure, it was not possible to have in our mobile phones, to have our historical clinic in our mobile. That's something that we have now. We can have all the information that on all our past exams, vaccines, everything, the information that we need to know of our health, we have it in our mobile phones. That's something that COVID has helped to accelerate. But it's not sufficient. We need to go more because the digitalization of health, the healthcare systems, will help us to tackle many of the challenges that we have now in our days. Our main challenge that we have is longevity. And to tackle this challenge that we have with longevity and all the chronicity and pathologies that many people have, we need to work in a more efficient way, and for sure digitalization of the healthcare system will help us to ensure and to have a better system and to help our patients, to have a better assistance.
Well, thank you, Carlos. No, I think you touch a good point. I think that really healthcare lacks of ways of being more scalable and sustainable, taking into account that we all getting older as a population in the world. And I think this is a very, very good point. And let me ask you one thing, Jordi. Do you share the view of the opportunity that we have here in Barcelona in relation to the development of digital health?
Hello, good morning. Thank you for inviting me. I think Barcelona is in the center of knowledge. No? We have a very good professionals of health. We have a big hospitals, good universities, business schools, other kind of people and enterprises who have an environment who is one of the best in Spain and perhaps in the south of Europe, to have the opportunity to develop a new strategy to the digital health. I think we have the acknowledgement, we have the place, we have the weather, we have a lot of things and institutions who can help us to convert Barcelona in the center of the digital health Spain and in the south of Europe, or more, in my opinion.
No, and to your point also, I think it's meaningful for some people may not know fully how it's the Sant Pau Foundation and how many institutions are below the foundation.
Sant Pau is a very old institution. We have 600 years from now. Sant Pau is a very high complexity hospital. We have a new research institute of high complexity too. And we have the Art Nouveau site, one of the best and a large site in modernism in Europe. And other institutions like a university. We have a faculty of medicine, a school of nursery, and a campus, Sant Pau Health Campus, and other institutions like the World Organization of Health in Sant Pau and Barcelona Health Hub. And I think it's a special environment to have special things to develop this and improve all the digital fair, because we have the knowledge inside Sant Pau. And the foundation, one of the goals or one of the objectives of the foundation is to help all of this come.
And I think it's a great ecosystem, and we are really happy to be hosted there, and it's great to be surrounded of all this knowledge. So thankful for that. And let me ask you, Luca, do you think that Barcelona has the potential to play a role as a top digital health hub?
I think we already are. I think it's a good question to ask because it's an easy yes. I think there's a unique mix of factors that allow Barcelona to be particularly competitive here. I think the first is that there's this incredible network of hospitals that have a very strong culture of innovation. Sao Paulo, probably the longest tradition of that, but there's many others, including Vallebron and Hospital Clínic and San Juan de Deo and many others, that have a very active and I would say aggressive innovation and I would say experimenting with the validation of technology. So that as a core base is invaluable, and you don't find that everywhere. When you layer on top of that the fact that we have world-class business schools, you have world-class universities that are churning out really strong technical skills, we're able to piece together quite a strong ecosystem of talent, and particularly this young talent who's more internet savvy, who's a little bit more digitally adept. These are going to be the ones who are going to drive these new technologies and integration into healthcare systems, I think, very aggressively. So, and what is evidence? So it's great that we all live here and we love Barcelona. It's easy to say that we're leading, but where is the evidence, right? And I think the evidence is there. And when you look at some of the institutions that promote healthcare, one good way to assess this is, say, EIT Health, which is a European-wide initiative. And within EIT Health, you have different countries that are very active. And the Spanish chapter is one of the most aggressive. They're based in Barcelona, and most of the startups, most of the groups that we have are coming out of the Catalan ecosystem. So I think that, for me, we're very active in that ecosystem as well, along with Barcelona Health Hub. So that is just evidence that we are already leading the digitalization of healthcare. And I think that trend will continue because all of those like individual factors are brought together under the umbrella of Barcelona Health Hub to collaborate, I think, very progressively. And there's no sign that that's going to slow down. And I think we had 2 young startups here just before, but there's dozens here. And what we're seeing in the let's say the startup space, which is where I spend all my time, is there's a transition towards healthcare startups. I mean, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have seen maybe 5% of the startups that are early stage I saw were healthcare. Now it's much more like 30, 35, 40%. And it's been a shock. And this means that there's lots of different pockets generating this ingenuity and this innovation. So what we're doing is working. I think there's clear evidence that it's working, and all of us are committed to continuing to put more resources into it. And so, I think all the evidence points to the fact that we will continue down this path.
No, you touched a nice point, and I just recall 6 years ago we were here at the 4 Years from Now, and there was just some startups showing healthcare innovation. And this year we have a full space dedicated to digital health. So I don't have the numbers of the race, but I share with you this trend. And let me ask you, Carlos, maybe the same question. I mean, do you think that we have in Barcelona the potential to be a top digital health hub?
Yes, of course, why not? We have a really strong private sector pushing for that. And I think that if we have the possibility to align our interest on pushing for this digital health with the public sector, and we promote a really strong public and private partnership between both sectors, we can achieve whatever we want. And Barcelona is the right place to do it. As you said in my presentation, I was the coordinator of the Spanish government for Barcelona. We tried to bring the European Medicines Agency to Barcelona, and I really know that the many opportunities that Barcelona offers to achieve something like this. You know, I remember that was like 5 years ago when we were going around Europe explaining our candidacy, our bid. Everybody was saying, who doesn't want to move to Barcelona? Everybody wants to move to Barcelona. So with that answer, that's easy, you know. But now what we need is to align our projects from the private sector with the public sector. We need to work together. It's the only way to get it.
No, I totally agree, and I think that we have a very unique opportunity because Barcelona is especially attractive to attract young talent. Maybe with people that has kids and we have all the difficulties, but with young people that have a lot of talent, it's pretty easy to attract them to Barcelona. And I would like to ask a question to all of you, and this is some of our biggest concerns in Barcelona Health Hub. We want to foster the acceleration of the digital transfer to the practice of medicine, and that's a key point in our strategy, and it's something difficult in healthcare. It's extremely difficult, and well, I would like to hear your opinion in this. I think it's an important. Who of you want to take the lead? Jordi?
I think it's the key, no? Times, and to transfer the innovation to the day-to-day of the clinical practice is not easy because the times in the hospitals are longer and the times in the other side are very short. I think it's necessary to create, or I don't know how exactly, perhaps with units who combine the expertise of the clinical practice and the startups knowledgement, and in the same hospital, because I think that we need to design a process, a very solid, agile and fast process to validate this innovation to the day-to-day, because if not, the time is so long, and the people don't work for these times. No, I think it's one formula, one creation is these units in the hospitals, because we need to have the both knowledgement, no, and both times. I think it's one effort for us in Sant Pau, in the rest of the hospitals, because it's not only for us, it's for the health sector, because if not, that time is so long for us.
Luca, you want?
Yeah, I think that the challenge is to acknowledge that we have both this needs-based, let's say, challenge of identifying, articulating within a hospital setting what are the needs, both for the system, of the doctors, of the nurses, of the patients, and allowing those needs to be well understood and articulated into a forum where people can work on it. But also, on the other side, we have tremendous technology being generated in Barcelona. So how do we do a technology push? I think Barcelona already has a very rich tradition of internet technology startups, of e-commerce, of marketplace. A lot of those business tools can be applied very directly to healthcare. And so we have to do both. And it's really kind of critical. Now, the big gap is, okay, where does the talent meet? When are you going to get a doctor to sit down with an MBA student and an artist to design a product or a solution? And those are the real challenges that particularly COVID presented. I think in some ways, COVID accelerated digitalization of certain tools, online communication, video conferencing, diagnostics, remote appointments with doctors. That push was made, but there's a secondary tier of new product development, which requires a lot more interaction and requires a lot more events and a lot more person-to-person contact. And like you say, we're very good at generating our own young talent and bringing in young talent from abroad. And hospitals, universities, Barcelona Health Hub, all of these elements have to come together, put people in the same room and get them talking more. I think we do it already. I think we need to be doing it 10 times more. I think that scale, the benefits that come to that scale of people getting to know one another, because what you're trying to build is trust between people to work together. It's a very, very hard thing to do, of disparate-minded individuals with disparate focuses and disparate priorities. So, continuously generating these opportunities has to be a very conscientious effort with a clear output in mind, right? We're not just putting people in a room, we're putting in the room to solve a solution. And I think when we do that, we have good evidence that it's very successful. And hopefully now in a semi-post-COVID world, we can do that more aggressively.
No, thank you, Luca. Carlos, do you want to add something in this matter?
Sorry, because I couldn't hear, but I think that you are talking about the acceleration of the digital transference to healthcare practice.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it's important that to prepare this, we need to also think on how to redesign the organization of our national health system. I think that that's the first step to make able this digital evolution. But also we need to take into account the opinion of patients and professional healthcare. We cannot do it only listening to one part of the history. We need to listen to everybody and to do it all together. That's the best way to do it. And also I think that one of the objectives that this transformation needs to have is to have a single digital health history. That's really important. That's the most important for this. And I'm also sorry to add, I think that we have tried many things during the last year due to COVID, but I would like to say that not everything that we have been doing during this last year is being done properly. So we had now this experience for the last year. We need to analyze what is been working and what it doesn't work, because this is a perfect pilot project that we have been doing during the last year. So we need to learn to take lessons from this time to make better proposals and to make a real digital healthcare system for everybody.
No, thank you. Well, I think that this is one of the main points of the discussion, and it's really difficult, and we are feeling that, even in Sant Pau. I mean, with Jordi and Sant Pau, we are working with the hospital, trying to beat these challenges, and maybe Jordi, you may share one of these challenges, or do you want to share something about this?
I think that is one of the big challenge to approach to the professional of the hospital and the Barcelona Health Hub and the rest of the knowledgemen, because it seems easy, but it is not so easy. When this happens, it's like a magic, no? Because I discover people of gynecology or psychiatric when approach to Barcelona Health Hub and the MBA, no, or engineering, other worlds, and say, wow, you can solution my problem, no? Or you can you work different, and I think this is very important to work together and make it easy from the hospital first, for the healthcare system too, I think, and the rest of the enterprises and university, because if not, the gap is very big, and the times, I said before, it's so longer, and we need to work together. Luca said, no? Work to all the people in one space, perhaps not physical space, but close, because if not, the gap is very, very long.
No, I sometimes say that what is obvious to happen in healthcare takes a long time to happen, and this is because, of course, healthcare professionals are focused in the practice of medicine and in the deployment of this practice. So everything regards innovation needs to be validated, needs to comply with many regulations, and maybe I would like this to the next question to Carlos. What's your opinion regarding the regulation in digital health? This is, I think, an important topic also.
Yes, at the moment we don't have any specific legal text that regulates telemedicine, for example, in Spain. So I think that we need to take we need to work in a proposal to have specific regulations to improve and implement digital health in Spain. In this area, we have lots of things to do. And I'm sorry, because I was listening to you, what you were saying. I think that any change, any transformation, always we will find barriers, because not everybody is prepared for changes. But we need to continue doing it, because it's the only way. If we want to change something, we need to push for it. Despite the barriers, we need to go for it. And I think that we have the opportunity now, and with the work that you are doing in Barcelona Health Hub, it's amazing all the work that you are doing. I think that for sure we will achieve many changes in a short time, for sure.
Thank you, Carlos, for your trust and your help also. And let me also ask you to look and to you, I think for both of you, what do you see as the main challenges to transform Barcelona to this digital health hub, top digital health hub? I mean, there are challenges to overcome.
I'll start maybe at the small side, and then you can go on the big side. No, I think from the startup side, money, right? There's not enough capital to support healthcare startups. There's a huge funding gap between, especially when we're talking about digital solutions and diagnostics. There's a huge gap between having a good idea, having a good prototype, and getting a hospital convinced enough to test it and wanting to adopt it. And so, entrepreneurs who are maybe used to other rhythms get really caught off guard by what happens when they enter the healthcare space. The lead times get longer, they run out of money, they run out of patience, they run out of time. And there has to be a better acknowledgement of what the real situation is today. Part of that solution has to be bigger funds giving more money to startups at better valuations. I think that has to be part of the solution. I think equally there has to be increase in public funding available for healthcare technology, because there will always be this gap between private and public finance. And I think healthcare, if amongst all the sectors out there, is one of the more public challenges, right? I mean, it is in everybody's interest that we are healthier and live better quality of lives. So the public institutions should be more involved in healthcare. So I think we need bigger funds with more money, giving more support to startups in those stages. And then I think there has to be more sort of test labs set up. I think the hospitals are doing a great job at this, but it's not enough, and it'll never be enough. Always pushing to make available beds, patient environments, doctor test facilities, training facilities, where startups can put their technology to practice and see how it works. I think Germany has been more aggressive in certain ways with certain technologies, and some of that has proven that it's worked and some hasn't. Let's learn from them. Let's take what has worked and build on that and start building out more solutions. So it's not just about the money, but I do think that's one area where we need to be a bit more bold and where it's warranted.
No, in this regard, it brings to my mind one objective that I start to share. I think that we all need in this ecosystem to push hard for the first unicorn in digital health in Barcelona, because you know what happens. I mean, money is afraid of risk, and once you see an exit, you see a big boom in one ecosystem, then the money is more easy to come. So I think that we should all work for this to happen, to have the first unicorn of any kind in digital health ecosystem.
Yeah, and actually, I think there's another challenge there, which is also the ambition. I think we need more ambitious entrepreneurs. We need entrepreneurs who are not looking for an early exit. I mean, Carlos can buy you at whenever, but let's have the ambition to build something great. and drive it out into the world and brand it, Barcelona Health Hub founded company, and that would help everybody. But also that entrepreneurial ambition is muted here for a lot of reasons. But we need more visionary, ambitious drivers behind the healthcare technology.
Carlos, what do you think are the challenges to overcome?
I think I said something before at the beginning, because I think that to make real changes, it's important that we work close and in the same direction with the policymakers. We cannot do it alone. So it's important to work in the same direction, public and private sectors. We need to work in the same direction, and we need to be able to be sitting in the same table to discuss different options and to make agreements. We have now an initiative like Barcelona Health Hub that is pushing from the private sector, but we need somebody on the other side of the table. And that's the next step that we need now.
No, I totally agree. And now we will have a unique moment, because we have the Next Generation Fund coming. And, well, I would like to see that the government is putting some money into digital health, because it makes all the sense. But this is not in our hands. We'll need this collaboration, and I think it's a key factor to have all this government implication in this direction. I think it's another key element in this. You want to add something, Jordi, in this regard?
No, I totally agree. I think in this sector, the public sector in the health is very strong here, and it's important that the government and the institutions, official institutions, help us to isolate these objectives.
And before, Luca, you ask about these venture capital funds. What should we do to attack them, to the ecosystem?
I think we already are, is the short answer. And we've seen a few funds where people from outside have moved to Barcelona, started funds, brought in capital from outside, and are pursuing pretty aggressively in a growth phase. And I think that is also creating competition for the existing funds that have been here working in the sector for a long time. And so we've already seen an inflation of interest in healthcare startups. I think the challenge is to expand our comfort zone with the kinds of things that we're interested in investing in. I think we're still a little bit stuck in a few technologies and in a quick solutions, which in digital health you can find up to a certain point. At some point this is going to get harder. The solutions are going to get slower. They're going to be more difficult to validate. And you see this with some of the imaging processing and AI solutions are already slower and heavier and take longer and are more expensive, right? So this is going to continue to be a challenge. So you need bigger capital to either do that validation faster, or to let it last longer. And regulation has to come in to determine which of those two paths you're going to take, right? Will you allow us to do this much faster, or is there a minimum time frame which you require of us? And then the capital will adjust to that. But it's very difficult to assess risk from a venture capital perspective without clear rules of engagement. And I think right now, in many of the technologies, there's no clear rules of engagement. So anytime a venture capitalist comes across the CE mark and they think, well, you've got to register in Catalonia and every other zona autónoma, every other autonomous zone in Spain, it just sounds heavy and expensive and long. It's not as bad as it sounds, but it's not obvious from the outside that that's the case. So we need clear rules of engagement. We need to make it as simple as possible. I'm not saying the rules should be loose, but they should just be clear and hopefully as standard as possible. Standard across Spain, standard across Europe, and save everybody the time and effort. That will bring more venture capital. And I think the rest of the issues, cultural, language, and all that, is secondary. I think Spain has a good English-speaking foundation, I think, and which is important to most venture capitalists. I think our rules of engagement, taxation, investment rules may be a little bit strict, but they're still reasonable. So I really think just creating that platform of risk assessment and making that as visible and transparent as possible is probably the primary factor that will increase venture capital.
No, thank you. No, I think that one idea that keeps on coming in the conversation, it's the time. I mean, in healthcare everything takes more time than maybe in other sectors, and I think this is a key issue that VCs need to understand. And I've been talking to many VCs myself, and I have found a huge difference from the VCs that are in the sector and the ones that are not in the sector. Because the ones that are not in the sector, they don't fully understand that in this sector things don't pass right away. I mean, you need to invest time and money to happen, but then you are in, and it's a big barrier of entry. All the regulation that you go through, all the time and efforts to go into the clients, it's a big barrier of entry for newcomers. So it's a double angle to see it, but they need to understand it, and I have feel it in my own startup. I mean that sometimes it's hard to convince VCs out of healthcare that this will take time. And regulation. It's also an issue, of course, and we all talk about it. Carlos, how do you see the future of healthcare management, and how can digitalization help us?
No,
that's a big question.
Not an easy, yeah. That's not an easy question to answer now in a few seconds, but. I want to say that we have a really big potential in Spain, especially in Catalonia. We have a really good hospitals. We have really good professional health workers, professionals. We have the talent that we need to improve and to implement these digital changes that we are talking today. So I think that we have the base. It's only to put all the pieces together, and to start working together. It's not so difficult. As I said before, yes, we will find many barriers, and especially in the healthcare sector, that it's a really regulated sector. For example, I work for the pharmaceutical company that that it's really regulated, our market and our business here in Spain. But we need to convince the policy makers on which changes we need, and if we are able to sit in the same table, all the different stakeholders that we are part of the national health system, for sure we will achieve it. It will take time, but we don't have time to lose. So it's time to move now. We cannot lose more time.
No, I think that we all see an acceleration in the sector, that things are moving faster. COVID accelerated a lot the adoption, of course, of telemedicine, which is today a major trend worldwide. I mean, no clue on that. And we need these tools that we see or hear to make a more sustainable and accessible healthcare to everyone in Earth, because we have a worldwide problem. I mean, there are not enough physicians to provide a high-level healthcare to everyone on Earth. So it's not just about the healthcare in Europe or the US. It's about how we will make it to reach everyone on Earth, to have a more accessible healthcare. And we are about to end this panel today, and I don't know if you want to say a final remark or just something to close this session today. You want to start, Jordi?
I would like to say that we are very hopeless with this initiative of Barcelona Health Hub, because I think it's a big opportunity. It's a time. We are in the place. We have the tools, and I think we must take profit of this, no? Because Sant Pau, in our part, we want to be a great project, and I help all of this project to do better. And I think we have the talent, we have the opportunity, we have the enterprises, and I think there are the needs for the patients and the needs for the professional. Because it's true, they have the needs, and we can help all of these people with the technology and the digital health.
No, thank you, Jordi, and I know you're great supportive into this. We will do it, I'm sure of that.
Thank you.
Luca?
Yeah, I just want to focus a little bit also on the long term. I think for the next 20 or 30 years, I think we're going to have a very heavy focus on understanding our own health, on diagnostics, on operational efficiency, on digitalization of administrative processes, on access. And then there's going to be another phase of curation, right? Of how do we cure diseases better? And I also think Barcelona is very well set up for that next generation of medical innovation. I think there's a lot of great laboratories, research, material science, molecular science going on here. So I think we're actually set up very well for 2 generations of innovation in the healthcare space. And as much as I'm looking forward to the digital one, because that's what my lifetime will touch, my children will live through the curative cycle. And I think there's a lot of hope for Barcelona in both phases. So quite looking forward to watching and participating in how this evolves.
Thank you. Carlos, do you want to your final remarks or closing?
No, only apologize because I was not able to be there because my flight had a technical problem. So I was up 5:30 this morning to be able to be there, but due to technical problem of the flight, I couldn't be there. So I feel really sorry for that because I wanted to be there with you to share this time, but only to say thank you to you, Cristian, and to all the people from Barcelona Health Hub for all the work that you are doing. That it's really amazing, as I said before. Congratulations.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for your support, and thank you for connecting and making it. We are a startup spirit, so we can make it even remotely, no problem. You join it. Thank you for connecting, and thank you all for participating, coming today, and sharing your thoughts. And thank you, and see you soon. Come to Barcelona Health Hub. This is the place to be if you want to innovate in digital health. Thank you.